So welcome to adding Web2Print to your e-commerce website. My name's Andrew Talbot and our business is called Gateway 3D. Now, Web2Print means lots of different things to different people. So we're going to take you through our explanation of what Web2Print is and what it can do for your business. So really, let's start with what do you need to succeed with Web2Print? In essence, you only need one of two things. You either need a customer base of existing customers, and for this webinar really on Web2Print we're talking about the B2B market, or you need website visitors. So if you've got a customer base of people, they will be using products that can be purchased by Web2Print, and we'll go over those in a minute. So either us or plenty of other providers could provide you a website that uses Web2Print if you've got a customer base. Equally, if you've got a website that has plenty of visitors, then you can add Web2Print to it, and the people visiting that website will be using Web2Print. So either way, if you've got either of those two assets, then Web2Print is quite an easy thing for you to get into. Let's start now with what kind of products can you sell? Now at Gateway 3D, one of our big boasts is we can enable almost any product for Web2Print. But let's focus this morning on the ones that are easiest to sell. So the obvious one that's been done and companies like Vistaprint have made, almost the way to buy them now is business stationery. So although we use less stationery now, we still use plenty of business cards, and business cards are a really easy thing to print online. The next thing that's printed a lot online is marketing print. So if you want flyers for an exhibition, things to promote, there's still a substantial amount of marketing print, and it's a great thing to do, Web2Print. The other thing that's becoming increasingly popular is workwear and uniforms. So with modern technology, you can now do smaller quantities of these, so it makes it easier for companies who hadn't perhaps considered it before to create workwear and uniforms. And the final category we'll focus on for today, trophies and incentives, are obviously high value products generally, used by most companies, or certainly most companies with a certain number of staff, but often hassle to organize from an administration point of view. So all of these four things are all things that the majority of your customers are likely to buy, and you can sell Web2Print. So how do you get started? You're interested in Web2Print. What do you do? Well, really, you look at the previous slide and say, well, what products do I think I'd be able to sell to my customer base? You find some dropship suppliers that will fulfill those products for you. And obviously, we'll talk about that later, but this is where we come in. We're connected to a whole network globally of dropship suppliers. You design specific templates for customers. As a general rule, you could put a blank piece of paper on the screen, but many people wouldn't necessarily have the skills or the vision to populate that blank piece of paper. So the recommendation is you always set up a template for your customers to work with, and that's where you add the value. That's where you can compete with companies like Vistaprint, because they obviously won't have set up templates specific to individual customers. And if you do that, then obviously they have to come to you to fulfill that, and it becomes a service. So once you've set up the template, you have to add a personalization app to your website or get a new website. Again, something we can help with. And then finally, you've got to market the service to the customers. The biggest error we see on mass customization is people spend all the time getting nice websites, nice templates, products, but they don't then market the site, they don't get the orders, and they say, oh, Web2Print doesn't work. Well, it does work, and there are many living testaments out there to people doing millions and billions of pounds in Web2Print. So let's move on. So I talked briefly about a supplier network. At Gateway 3D, we integrate our systems with best-in-class suppliers. So we've found suppliers for all of the key sort of products that you might want to do. And from our system, basically, when somebody orders online, you don't touch anything. It goes straight into the supplier system. They deliver under your brand, and that's the beauty of Web2Print. So just to give you an idea the sort of people we've teamed up with, We've teamed up with Slick Stitch, who are Europe's largest embroiderers. So they will embroider one for the same price people are used to embroidering hundreds. We've teamed up with Simpress, which is the organization behind Vistaprint. So we can now offer on the business print and a whole range of their products the advantage of Vistaprint prices for your website. Huge thing. We've teamed up with Harrier, who are the largest digital printers in the UK, who can rival Vistaprint on the business print, but are also into the photo print market. We've teamed up with Marvel Press, who are one of the UK's largest sublimation printers. So they're very good at one-off mugs and products like that. We've teamed up with Pen Warehouse, who in the promotional sector have more products available in no minimum than anyone else. So you can add their products into your website. And we've teamed up with Glenway, who also have their Glenway to go service where they can engrave trophies for you as well and incentives. And this is just a small selection. We've got a huge number of key suppliers, but for these sort of products, they're the people to talk to. So the next thing is, what's the secret of success? Well, ultimately, it's easy. You have to make it easier for people to work and give them suppliers that get mass customization. There's no point in trying to do this with people that don't get it. They need to be set up for mass customization. And our job, to be honest, is to make Web2Print easy, which we think we do. So here's a couple of examples for you. I've got logo galleries here. So this is a USB memory card. And the idea is, if I was working for Virgin, I've already stored my logos in a logo bank. So it makes it very easy if I'm in the procurement team at Virgin to say, right, I'm doing some work today for Virgin Trains, and I can just add the logos. So you can set up logo banks for people, which make it very easy for your corporate clients to order products. Bit of extra effort, but that extra effort is so much worth it. You can set up pre-designs. So we've discussed templates. Obviously, everything that we're talking about is no minimum order. So ultimately, the customer orders what they need when they need it. And everything nowadays tends to be, with the good suppliers, on 2 to 3 day delivery. And to be honest, it's getting quicker and quicker. We also then provide a series of clever formatting tools, because people often say, oh no, I need my artwork team to do this. Well, if we give you some ideas, we can, automatically change prices, automatically text shuffle. I mean, there's all sorts of levels of complexity that you can get into. So, I mean, this is an example of a letter. So as you type in that letter, it shuffles the text around. It can correct the font. It can do all sorts of things. So in reality, the tools now on systems like ours can make it really easy for a customer to personalize stuff online by doing the formatting for them. I also like concepts like sample links. So instead of sort of sending somebody a traditional proof to send off, just send them an electronic one that when they hit add to order, goes through the Web2Print process. And then they can use that link next time they want to order. And we'll talk about client sites in a minute, which I guess is put together packages. So client sites are a great idea for Web2Print. It's where in the B2B market, you can gain advantage over the other B2B or Web2Print sites out there, because they're not setting up, sites like Vistaprint are phenomenally successful, but they don't set up sites for customers. If you set up sites for your customers, and with our technology or other people's technology, it's so simple. You could have 1,000 customers and 1,000 websites. It's not a massive undertaking. And then if you set up products for them, you make it easy. And you've got lots of companies now getting rid of departments, etc., and wanting easier ways to do procurement. So let's use this as an example. If we just scroll up on there. So the idea here is when somebody joins a company, in this case it's a gym chain, they need a range of products. So they need some t-shirts, a sweatshirt, a business card, and a poster to go on the wall. So in Web2Print, you've set that up. They can log in, and all new starters can just be given this web page, and they're in business. So Web2Print makes it very easy to do that sort of thing. Talk about business benefits. I've kind of focused on it from your point of view. If you're thinking about Web2Print, ultimately, it's easier to make sales to existing customers. So if you were a promotional products distributor, for instance, it would be very easy for you to sell these products that I've mentioned today: the uniforms, the business card, the marketing print, the trophies and incentives. All of those products will be bought by your customers. So from your point of view, more sales. And the beauty is there's no stock. So it's either print on demand, so you store a standard design and just print it or engrave it as needed, or it's personalized to the user when they start. There's a massively reduced cost of sales because there doesn't have to be a communication on the orders, and there's a wider range of products. So we have got within our database around 100,000 different products from leading dropship suppliers. All of those you could potentially use. It obviously reduces production and order management costs because the online proofing, the sign-off all happens online. And ultimately, it's a better service. There's been several recent surveys that say business-to-business users actually are getting to prefer e-commerce. And you're seeing large websites now being very successful doing that. People want to order out of hours. They can get more information instantly off the screen. There's no doubt, you can say, oh, no, it won't affect me. And if you do maybe larger orders, there maybe is that consultative sell. But you've got to use B2B or Web2Print as a strategic tool in developing. So I'll give you one more example of what I think is quite a nice business card. This is just a traditional business card, and you can see there we've set it up as our business card. So, in a company like ours, where maybe 10 members of staff at the moment have business cards, we order all our cards this way now. Just give everybody the link, and it's so much easier than having to have a conversation, get the artwork set up. So we can go in here and just set these things up, and off you go. We can put spell checks on them. This particular product, you can limit what people do. We have like a range of little symbols that we like to add, so we can go through adding those little symbols. So there we are. Those are the standard corporate guidelines. And in this case, I don't think we allow customization on the back, but we'll display it anyway. So you can see it. So Web2Print is a very, very easy thing once it's set up for the users. All you've got to do is invest in it at your end and making sure you've got it set up right for the customer and get that all-important traffic. The rest of it you can rely on us for. Interestingly, sales channels, everyone thinks of Web2Print as only on a website. Not entirely true. If you're employing people to go out and see customers, how easy is it to have people's templates on your iPad when you go and see them? They say, oh, Andrew, I need some more business cards. Open your iPad up, say, type your name in. Is that it? Yep. How many do you want? Oh, I'll have 500. Click, done. All that work's done. And there's other things you can do well, in store. So if you have a trade counter environment, there's no reason why you can't have Web2Print products on a kiosk in there. We've talked about mobile. Quite like QR codes. You could, for instance, give a customer a sheet of their standard products, bit of paper, because people are like, with a QR code. So they just scan it with their mobile every time they want to order something and do it on their phone. How much stuff is happening on a phone nowadays. Don't tell me if you're listening to this webinar that you haven't got a smartphone and you don't use it for stuff. So finally, I guess a little bit of a bit of self-promotion from us. I've hopefully tried to make this a generally informative webinar. What makes Gateway 3D a bit different from other people offering Web2Print solutions? Well, ultimately, we've got so many different ways you can create templates. You can design them online. You can upload from Photoshop. So we've got more ways of creating templates. A template can be created for almost any product. And if you're talking about an existing product, like the ones, the Simpresses, the Harriers, the 6-stitches, we've already got the base template set up. So all you have to do is the templating on top. Our stuff you can add to almost any e-commerce website. So you don't need to buy a new site from us. You can add it to an existing site. We create the artwork. So it's a no-touch thing. And you can do batching as well from a production point of view. So, if you had a special deal from somebody that said, only send orders over once you've got 1,000, we can hold them until you have. You saw the special features we've got for formatting stuff. I think the email proofing is a strong idea to get people into the concept. And we can also synchronize with hot folders and the like. So if you've got somebody with a slightly different production system, we're able to cope with their needs. So hopefully you can see from a sales perspective how powerful Web2Print is. If you have got either a nice customer base or a busy website, then consider adding some of these products to it, because your customers are buying them and you could be making profit on them. So thank you for listening. Gateway3D.com is our website if you'd like any more information.